If you are here and you can hear me, maybe giving me a comment or a heart so I know that you're here, and we can go ahead and get started. Again, my name is Tina. Today is a yin and restorative practice. I have a blanket laid out on my mat for comfort. I also have a bolster and another blanket. I really think you can never have enough blankets. I haven't heard from everybody yet, but I'm hoping that you're here. Let's see. So as a reminder, my practices in the month of April, I am supporting the TWBC donation, or scholarship funds with my donations. So thanks for your support. And also, whenever I get donations, I add another class. And so if you like this class, feel free to add another one. I'm hoping that everybody's here. I'm wanting to go ahead and get started. Okay, so let's go ahead and get grounded onto our mats so we can just arrive. Maybe take something underneath your hips, an easy sit pose here, maybe one ankle in front of the other. Roll your shoulders back and allow yourself to just breathe. Noticing your breath here. Allowing your inhales and exhales to come as they wish. We're getting ready for a new moon, and this is allowing us to kind of reset ourselves, and this practice is kind of a way to reset and restore. A few more breaths here. Wonderful. So for our first pose, we're going to come into a butterfly pose. So again, you may want to have, you may want to have your seat on a blanket or even on your bolster. And you're going to take your feet together in front of you. Your knees are released off to the sides. Now, maybe bring your hands back and bring your feet together and see where they land rather than forcing them anywhere. And then bring yourself up. And we're going to be here for a few moments, so allow your knees to start to release. If you need support, maybe have your blanket or maybe some blocks or books under your knees. And once you get the feeling for that, allow yourself to fold forward and find where you can release and hold. You'll be here for about 3 minutes in a forward fold. I'm going to put the directions in the chat in case anybody shows up late. You may notice your body starting to want to relax a little bit more as it starts to feel safe. And maybe you start lowering a little bit down further. Finding stillness. As you're ready, start to press your hands into the earth and gently, slowly start pressing into the ground, bringing your hands closer to your body. Start rising up, shoulders coming over your hips. Take your hands to the outside of your knees, guide your knees up, and then maybe you'd like to take your knees back and forth. Windshield wiper. And then take a moment here just to notice any changes from that first pose. For our next pose, we're going to come into cow-faced legs. So you will take your left leg and cross it over the right, and then bend your bottom leg back towards your hips. You're trying to get your knees stacked on top of each other as close as works for your body. Again, you can always bring a blanket or anything else that you'd need to support to make this feel good. Now we're going to come into a side stretch with this. So as you're ready, inhale, both arms up. And then as you exhale, take your left arm, leaving it up, the same arm as the leg that's on top, and release your right arm down and tip on over. I'm going to be here for 1 minute. Maybe releasing your elbow, finding stillness, allowing yourself to release over to that right side. How would it feel to let go a little bit more? Gently reach your left hand up. Then bring your right hand in close to your hip. Gently lift your head up if you have your neck to the side and stay here for just a moment. Reach back with your hands behind you, uncross your legs, and then cross the right leg on top, left leg underneath, stacking on this side. Reach both arms up, and then release your left hand down as you tip over toward the left, maybe bending your right elbow above you, finding what works for you for this 1 minute stretch. And from here, release your right arm down. Start to bring your left hand in closer to your seat. Bring your head up. Take a breath here. Gently tip back and unwind your legs. Maybe give yourself another windshield wiper if that feels good. We're going to come into a supported pigeon pose here. So you'll find yourself on your hands and your knees in a tabletop pose to start with. And take your bolster here. And you'll have it diagonal, so you'll have it diagonal reaching up toward the right. And then take your right knee toward the upper part and turn your right foot in toward the center or over toward the left as you reach your left leg back. Find what works for you here. Maybe you have to get some support underneath that hip with a rolled up blanket or a block. And then allow yourself to bring your chest down to the bolster. And you can hug onto the bolster. Maybe your right ear comes down. And release. Of course, for a more intense stretch, you can do this without the bolster. Or if you don't have one, we'll be holding this for 3 minutes. From here, press your hands onto the ground. Start to roll toward your right hip. If you have that right knee bent, rolling back, bringing your hands behind you. My favorite windshield wipers. And just take a moment to sit. And we can go to the other side. You can either change the direction of your bolster. I'm going to move to the other side so I can watch the clock. And then take your left knee, if you did the right knee first, bring the left knee up. Bring your left foot toward the center or toward the right. Bring your right leg back. Find what works. Maybe add support. Your achievement props, that's what I call them. And then release your chest down. Maybe your left ear is on your bolster. Remembering that you can release your breath out of your mouth, maybe adding a little bit of tension between your lips. Help release any areas that are causing tension. From here, start to press yourself up, rolling over towards your bent leg, your hip of your left leg. Windshield wipers. And then from here, we are going to go into a supported bridge pose. So for supported bridge, if you have a bolster or a block, you can place it down on the ground. If you're coming to a block, come into bridge first and then bring your bolster up. If you're on a block, I'll get a block. Excuse me. You can lift your hips and place the block underneath your sacrum. Keep your gaze up, and you can hold this here. If you're using the bolster, you can sit on the bolster and then reach back with your shoulders. This one's a little more restorative than the block. Keeping your feet down and your knees pointed up. Gaze stays up, arms released to the side. And breathe. From here, release yourself from your prop, maybe coming onto the balls of your feet, raising your heels up, and maybe lifting your hips so you can remove your block or your bolster, or simply, if you're on the bolster, roll off. If you have your hips raised, lower your heels, lower your hips. Take a moment of stillness here with your knees up, feet on the ground. Noticing any shifting that has happened in your spine or in your mind. And sway your knees from side to side. From here, roll over to your side. If you're watching the chat, you saw the spoiler alert. We're going into a child's pose next. So you can take your knees to the outside of your mat. Maybe your bolster is in between your thighs, and then release your head down toward your bolster. You can either turn your head to one side. This is our first restorative pose, so I'll let you know halfway if you're going to turn your neck one way and then the other. Or sometimes I like to add a bolster or a blanket at the top so I can release my forehead down. That way my nose isn't squished into the bolster as much. So go ahead and find your version of child's pose. You may want to have another blanket or a blanket underneath, in between your knees, between your lower legs and your seat. We're going to be here for a little while, for about 8 minutes. you have your head turned one direction, this is about halfway, so feel free to turn your head in the other direction. Take a deep inhale, exhale, let it go. Bring your hands down to the earth and gently start to press yourself up. Maybe coming over onto one hip. Come onto your seat. Maybe windshield wipers again. They're my favorite. And then take a moment. Our next pose is any version of an inversion that you would like to do. We've already done a little bit of one if you want to do the restorative bridge again. But we'll be here for about 10 minutes. So if you are close to a wall, if this was a wall, bring your hip right next to it and then roll onto your back and bring your legs up the wall. If you have a couch, maybe you lower your knees onto that. Or if you have a bolster like this, maybe bringing it up and bending your knees over it. Or placing 2 blocks underneath like a stone hedge and bringing your lower legs to land on that. Let's find a way to get somewhat upside down and allow yourself to release and relax, letting gravity support you as your legs are up slightly. From here, take a deep inhale. Exhale, let it go. Making your way out of your inversion. If your legs are up the wall, bring your knees towards your chest as you bring your feet along the wall, and then roll over to one side. Stay there for a moment. And then we're going to roll back onto our backs and find a comfortable Shavasana. If it's on the side for you, you can stay here, or you can roll to the other side, or even roll on your belly. But traditionally, lying on your back, maybe have some support under your knees with your feet on the other side of a bolster or blanket, or maybe you're lying flat on the earth. Release your hands to your sides. Maybe your palms are up, maybe they're down. Either way, begin to allow yourself to completely release and relax and let go. Gently bring your awareness back to your breath. Lengthen out your exhales and your inhales. Bring each fingertip to your thumb, noticing an increased awareness of a quiet mind. Rotate your wrists and your ankles. Maybe sway your head from side to side, bringing movement back into your body and bringing your mind back into this space with us together. Bless you. As you're ready, roll over to one side in a fetal pose for a last moment of quiet and stillness, using your lower arm as a pillow. Thank yourself for making it to the mat today, for allowing yourself time of rest, and to know that time at rest is never wasted. As you're ready, press yourself up to a seated position. Hands heart center, close out our practice. It was truly an honor to guide you through this practice today. I hope you have a peaceful and powerful week. Namaste. Thank you so much, everybody. I hope you had a great yin and restorative practice. If you have any comments or suggestions, feel free to put them in the chat or contact me on my Insight Timer page. You can find more information about me there. I think my next class is a flow class on Friday, 45-minute flow, dedicated to some people who donated last Friday. And I thank you so much for being here today. And we're right at an hour. I want to be respectful of your time, so I hope to see you all again. And thank you so much. Bye.